Speaking of which, Roman Reigns wrestled Buddy Murphy. This was a very good match between these two. This was the highlight of the night, much like Drew and Cedric was the highlight. The Sasha angle was really the highlight of that show. But in terms of matches, it was Drew and Cedric on Monday, and on Tuesday it was Roman and Buddy. Ugh, that name is just... See, this is just a great example. A name is very important. So when they conceive of these names, they really have to think ahead and think, okay, how far do we expect this person to go? Because this is going to be a name that they're saddled with for the rest of their careers. And I will say that if there was ever a wrestler on the main roster who could benefit from Vince McMahon chopping off his first name, it's Buddy Murphy. So here's to... I don't have a drink in my hand, but if I had my orange juice before with all my vitamin C, I'd be holding it up right now saying, here's to Buddy Murphy eventually becoming Murphy. I think that would be a big help to him. But they had a very good match. There was a spot where Murphy did a huge dive out onto Roman on the floor, took him out, followed by a huge Meteora onto Roman from the top rope into the ring. That was good for a near fall. We had a brainbuster to Roman Reigns, another kick out for the finish. Reigns turned him inside out with a spear and then gave Murphy a nod of approval when the match was over. If all of this sounds familiar, it was a carbon copy of what we saw with McIntyre and Cedric on Monday Night Raw. Turned him inside out with a Claymore in that match for the finish. Put him over at the finish. Just, his demeanor and everything, looking like he had just been to hell and back. Tonight, Buddy Murphy was playing the role of Cedric Alexander. This was the let's get the 205 Live guys over week. And it worked. Murphy, this was a star-making performance for Buddy Murphy. And Roman Reigns gave him a lot. He let him get his shit in and shine here in this match, and he really did. He gave him a lot. Both men deserve credit for putting on a hell of a match. It goes both ways. It's not just the Buddy Murphy show. It was Buddy Murphy and Roman Reigns. I saw some people, this was all Buddy. Roman can't wrestle. This was all Buddy. Buddy carried him. These people they're so consumed with hate for this man. I remember a time when people did the same thing with John Cena. It's all Shawn Michaels' credit, because he'd go out there and have a great match with Shawn Michaels. He'd go out there and have a great match with CM Punk. He'd go out there and have a great match with Daniel Bryan. He'd go out there and have a great match with Umaga. He'd go out there and have a great match with Chris Jericho. He'd go out there and have a great match with whoever. It was never John Cena's responsibility. It was always the other person that was the reason why the match was so good. I can't tell you how many times I read that and how many times I heard that. When Cena was, still, the top guy. Now you have a lot of people who reflect back and they kind of miss John Cena, and they acknowledge that John Cena had a lot of great matches, and it wasn't always with, like a high caliber of opponent like a Kurt Angle or a Shawn Michaels. Like I said, he went in there. I mean, Umaga was very good, but he was no Shawn Michaels, and Cena had a great match with him, and a lot of different people over the years. And I, even then, would give John Cena credit. I would have to defend him, and people would say, oh, you're kissing Cena's ass. Which, again, if you listen to those older shows, you would laugh at that. But that's just how people react. I think people will eventually come to look back at Roman Reigns in a similar way, where they give him more credit after the fact than they're willing to give him now. Because he isn't the flashiest guy in the world, and he's got his, moves of doom just like everybody does. Bret Hart had his 5 or 6 moves of doom. Cena had his moves of doom. Triple H has his moves of doom. But the fact is that Roman has had a lot of quality pay-per-view matches with people who of varying, backgrounds and varying persuasions. So you got to give both guys credit. It doesn't just go one way. They both had a very good match here on this show. Although Roman did make me want to bang my head against the wall. I have to take him to task for this. On Twitter, he was responding to a fan who was praising his ability to have a 5-star match on any night. And that's certainly a subjective thing. But in so doing, Roman referred to himself as, quote, the best performance fighter alive, end quote. This is not a debate about whether or not that's accurate or not. That's not why I'm singling him out here. The best performance fighter alive. Per what? Excuse me? Come again? Performance fighter? Is everybody not named Dolph Ziggler in that company afraid to just call themselves professional wrestlers? Are they really, like, do they have an allergic reaction if they refer to themselves as a professional wrestler? Does their throat close up? Do their eyeballs pop out of their head? Do their eyes swell shut? They have to have an EpiPen stuck in their leg? I mean, I don't understand this. I thought sports entertainers was cringy enough. Now they're performance fighters. Soon we're going to be calling them simulated combat soldiers. That's going to be the next phrase that we use to describe these men. I wonder if there is any other industry in the world where people willingly sign up, but they're afraid to actually admit what they do. Porn. That's the closest thing I could think of. Porn. I'm sure there's at least some porn stars that are afraid to admit to people what it is that they do for a living. Maybe friends, family. I just hope this isn't some sort of Fox thing where they're going to be calling these guys performance fighters. I mean, they're one step away from calling them play fighters. Performance fighter. Now I've heard it all. I have truly heard it all. I mean, it's... Yeah, the sports entertainment thing is one thing, and then you have all this vernacular on television. It's not a hospital, it's a local medical facility, and all this stupid shit. Performance fighters. Holy shit.